Hey, Ready Readers. Mrs. Lucas here, and look what I'm doing. I'm observing some ants. Look at those pesky creatures. Sometimes they can drive us crazy, right? Sometimes we find them in our snack bags. Sometimes we even find them in our sugar at home. They can really be pesky. So let me ask you a little question. To squish or not to squish? What would you do if the ant you were about to step on looked up and started talking to you? Would you stop and listen? What would you do? So today, boys and girls, we're going to read a story called Hey Little Ant. And that's exactly what happens in the story. This little boy is going to have to make a decision. He's going to have to answer that question, to squish or not to squish, because he has a meeting with an ant. So if you take a minute and look at this cover of this book, what kind of story do you think this might be? Do you think it's a fiction story or a nonfiction story? That's right, it's a fiction. And how do we know it's a fiction? Well, starting with the picture first, you can look at it and you can see that it's a drawing or an illustration. It also has characters, probably a setting, and also, if you take a look, it looks like they're talking to each other. So do humans talk to ants? No, it's kind of a make-believe story, right? But it also has a really good lesson. It teaches us something. So a couple of things. When we look at this story, we're going to also read it for enjoyment. When we read a fiction book, we're reading it for information. And the story also does not have a table of contents that tells us what we're going to learn about inside the story. So this is definitely a fiction story. And we're going to take a minute and we're going to share the screen. And while I'm sharing, I'm still going to keep talking because I want you to think about that question I asked you. To squish or not to squish? That is the question.
Hey, Little Ant. Written by Philip and Hannah Hoos. Illustrations by Debbie Tilley. Kid. Hey, little ant down in the crack. Can you hear me? Can you talk back? See my shoe? Can you see that? Well, now it's gonna squish you flat. Ant. Please, oh please, do not squish me. Change your mind and let me be. I'm on my way with a crumb of pie. Please, oh please, don't make me die. Kid. Anyone knows that ants can't feel. You're so tiny, you don't look real. I'm so big and you're so small. I don't think it'll hurt at all. Ant. But you are a giant, and giants can't know how it feels to be an ant. Come down close, I think you'll see that you are very much like me. Kid. Are you crazy? Me like you? I have a home and a family too. You're just a speck that runs around. No one would care if my foot came down. Ant. Oh, big friend, you are so wrong. My nestmates need me because I am strong. I dig our nest and feed baby ants too. I must not die beneath your shoe. Kid. But my mom says that ants are rude. They carry off our picnic food. They steal our chips and breadcrumbs too. It's good if I squish a crook like you. Ant. Hey, I'm not a crook. Kid, read my lips. Sometimes ants need crumbs and chips. One little chip can feed my town. So please, don't make your shoe come down. Kid. But all my friends squish ants each day. Squishing ants is a game we play. They're looking at me, they're listening too. They all say I should squish you. Ant. I can see you're big and strong. Decide for yourself what's right and wrong. If you were me and I were you, what would you want me to do? Should the ant get squished? Should the ant go free? It's up to the kid, not up to me. We'll leave the kid with a raised up shoe. What do you think that kid should do?
All right, guys, good story, right? So let me go ahead and exit out of this screen real quick. There we go. So such a good story. I love this story. And if we think about it, how was the ant trying to convince the boy not to step on him? So the part that I remember was this part, and it said, "Come down close. I think you'll see that you are very much like me." So he was really trying to convince them, about all the ways that they are alike. They're more alike than they are different. And what were some of the ways? Can you guys think of some of the ways? So remember, one of the ways was he was trying to tell them that he had a family, right? And if you look on the next page, look, here he is with his family, reading a story to his littles and eating with his family, right? Taking care of his sister, how they all needed to eat. They all needed to take care of each other. So there were a lot of different ways. And one of the things they said at the very end that I really, really liked was he used that important phrase, "Put yourself in my shoes." So the ant was basically saying, if you were me, how would you want me to treat you? Right? So we always have to think about that. When we start to be unkind or think of, things that aren't so nice, we always want to put ourselves in that other person's shoes and think, would I like this if they were doing it to me? That's super duper important to think about. We always want to think about, how do I want to be treated? Right? So that is your job today. Your job is going to tell Mrs. Lucas in a letter, what do you think the boy is going to do? And you're going to persuade him to not step on the ant. And so I wrote my own little letter back here as a little example, because I remember the thing that really, made me think was that, my gosh, the boy has a family, and so does the ant. And so when you look at this, right, I wrote a letter, and we've written letters before with our cards, right, to Miss A and different people along the way, and we always start with the word dear. So his name in the story was Kid, but I kind of like to call him Boy because it was a boy in the story. So I started with my greeting, and I wrote, "Dear Boy." So you can actually do the same thing. You can write to the boy, and you're going to say, "Dear Boy," and then you're going to come up with a reason why he should not step on the ant. And so this is what I came up with, all right? And hopefully you guys can come up with your own ideas. I wrote, "Please do not step on the ant. Ants have families and are God's creatures. Your friend, Mrs. Lucas." All right? So that's exactly what you're going to do. You're going to write a letter to the boy. "Dear Boy," and you're going to ask him, please, not to step on the ant, but tell me why. Why should the boy not step on the ant? Right? Think of all the ways in the story, and if you need to go back and re-watch the story again, you can. Okay? So once you're done with that, after you've listened to this story, and then you're going to go on Seesaw, you're going to write your own story on your own separate piece of paper. So just get out a blank piece of paper, or if you have a paper with lines on it, that's fine. And you're going to start with Dear Boy, and you're going to write why he should not step on the ant. Do it in your own writing, and when you're done, you're going to take a picture of it and then put it right on Seesaw and send it right to Mrs. Lucas. Okay? And I can't wait to read some of your ideas. I know you guys are going to be awesome. Awesome answers. So have a great time and think about how you're always going to be kind too, right? Put yourself in the other person's shoes. This was a great lesson in this book. Okay, guys, so I'm looking forward to reading your letters. Thanks a lot and have a great afternoon.